What's up, men? Welcome to the Male Cartel podcast. Let's get started.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just gonna be honest.
It's okay to be fat.
Dispelling toxic masculinity and really redefining what it means to be a man. Men can cry. So it's okay to be weak. It's okay to be weak.
I'm telling you right now, not everybody wants to see you win.
You seem to be more woman than you are man. You don't have any manly qualities.
You give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay, it's necessary. How are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Be a dangerous man. Being dangerous is not being a threat. They're two different things. You can't be a good man if you're not a dangerous man. You say one disrespectful thing to my wife, I am not only willing, but I'm able to inflict great bodily damage.
I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor and not a victim. I can't explain it, but you better feel me. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Here's your host, Nick and Shane.
Yeah, we back. Let's go.
We're officially the Tundra twins.
We are the Tundra twins. We need rings so we can just like hit it.
Like the who was it? The Captain Planet. They had the rings.
They do. Remember that? Wasn't there two twins on DC Comics? Who were they called? In the Justice League, in the Wonder Twins. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, because there's been several people that had rings, but not the twins. Yeah,
we could be the TT twins. Toyota Tundra.
Well, that's what I was like. If I didn't get a Tundra, I was gonna have to like. Well, we're the Toyota twins. If I ended up with like a Tacoma or something like that.
That's right.
But,
well, yeah. So those who are just now, you may be behind on cars and stuff. So my truck was fine, but I've been looking for a while. Need to make a decision to put a bunch of money in my truck, and then I decided to get a used Toyota, and it all worked out great. But Nicholas, he had been without a car for about, he started having a horse and wagon lately and nothing. And then he went on a literally search across the United States for a vehicle, and every stop has been absolutely. You got to talk, bro. This is like crazy. Yeah, it only happens to him. Y'all heard me on the other episode when Nick was talking about a story from trips, and I was like, that would never happen to me, because usually those things never ever happen to me. And just like the car stuff, I have never got hit by a deer, and I travel the Hereford Farm Road. My wife has been hit by deer 3 times, and I travel that road, Do
you travel it at 3 a.m.?
Not 3 a.m., but it's dark in the wintertime, and there's deer everywhere, and they run out, but deer has never hit me. But you, several times, and then you get in a wreck, total your car, all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I hit one on Columbia near Hereford Farm, and then one was out of town. So
probably the same deer hit my wife's
car. That was my
car.
Silverado that it didn't do any damage. I mean, that was a man's truck.
That's
right. Yeah, no, we have put some miles on my wife's car looking for of course, for those who tuned in a couple episodes ago, I had purchased a Tundra. It ended up becoming, it was trash. Probably not taken care of, and so we've talked about that. I won't go into that, but that was a trip to Conyers and back.
Yep.
And then just trying to find a price range. I was telling Nikki the other day, I was like, Shane really didn't need a truck. He was looking for a Tundra. He already got one. And then my buddy Steve, who he hit a deer. He works out probably an hour from Augusta. He hit a deer, totaled his car. So he's looking. He was already getting frustrated in 2 weeks, and I'm just over here. It's been almost 2 months.
Wow.
And already bought one that had to be returned. And so he found one on Sunday, and it was nice. It wasn't a Toyota, but it was a nice Ford F-150, low miles, good tires, leather interior. And I'm sitting here like, you've already found something. I said, how? I noticed you didn't ask me to pray for that deal for you, because he knew I was looking as well. And so he got it for a really good deal. So I'm happy for him. Had the 5.0 Coyote, which is the one my boys were saying, if you're going to get an F-150, that's the one to get. Ford would be my last choice. I'd probably get a Dodge before Ford, just because I'm straight. And so
that's right. No homo.
And so, but yeah, so I think just since last week, we went to Atlanta, we went to Macon, we went to Charleston, and then we went back to Atlanta, and then all the way up to LaGrange, Georgia, and that's where I ended up buying my my Tundra.
Where's LaGrange? Where's that at?
It's headed towards Auburn, and so even you as a Florida fan, me as a Georgia fan, that's one of our SEC rivals. So it's kind of a trash area, but not really. I mean, LaGrange seems to be nice. There's like a biblical history center there. We're actually going to go up tomorrow, and producer Carell is going to go, and we're going to pick up the truck, and then we're going to the Biblical History Museum or whatever it's called there in LaGrange.
You ought to just fit that in your sermon on Sunday somehow. Take pictures of Carell. So did will Carell have his car back? I
don't know. Carell's also, you pulled up today to do the podcast, and like nobody's vehicle.
Man, it is.
Nobody's got a car.
You don't even got your bus. There's nobody in the parking lot. It's like a ghost town, bro.
Man, it's been rough. It's been tough. Yeah, we took our bus to youth camp, and we bought that, and it sat for about a month because we didn't need it. And so we put less than 400 miles on it. That's including purchasing it up in North Carolina and driving it home, and the head gasket blew.
Low motor. Yeah. 400 miles.
A God-fearing man who sold it to us.
Yeah, if you're on the fence with Christianity, this is really would tip you over, bro. I'm telling you. They'd be like, man, this God that they speak of is messing me up with these cars. He's like a politician,
Well, I've told several people, it didn't bother me to lose my truck. It's a material thing. I've driven all sorts of vehicles. I mean, I was going to go buy a Ford Flex that we found for a decent deal at a guy that has like 70 ratings. He used to be a police officer over in close to Aiken, South Carolina. He is legit, good reviews. And I just told Nick, I said, I'm going to go buy that, put the rest of my money in savings, and then wait. I'm not going to rush into something. And she's like, that's one of the ugliest vehicles I've ever seen. I'm like, I will drive anything. It is the point of a vehicle is to get from point A to point B and back to point A if need be. If it's got AC in it and it meets the needs, I need more like a SUV or a truck because of hauling stuff and all. But, I'll drive anything.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be the prettiest.
My whole thing on vehicles I just don't want something to break down on me. And so if it has, or like I don't mind maintenance, and you're going to pay. If you own a house, you're going to pay.
Right. Yeah.
So like you own anything, you're going to pay. So, but I just didn't want to be in the negative.
Right.
That was my whole. I felt like on my truck I was going to be in the negative soon, but I was totally cool with it because I really loved my truck, my old one. This one I don't love yet or anything. So I don't have any memories in it or anything like that. But my other truck, I had so many memories of all my kids. I mean, I've had it since like 2010.
Yeah.
So like, no, sooner than that, 2008, 2009. So like, all my kids were born. So like, it's just different, when you have it for that long, and I know everything about every history of every scratch, you name it. So I hated it to get rid of it. But
you and I are eventually going to have to exchange Tundras. Because you got the double cab.
That's right.
I got the crew cab.
That's right.
And so your kids are taller than my kids.
That's right.
Plus my kids are grown.
That's right.
So about the time your boys, maybe a year or two, we're going to have to be like, all right, let's just exchange titles and Or if you're taking a long road trip, just switch them out for the weekend.
That's right. Because and you have a top too. The cover.
Tanya cover. You got one.
I got one too.
Yeah, my lock doesn't work, so I've got to get it fixed.
Yeah, I don't think mine has a lock on mine.
So for the listeners,
I guess there is a lock on the tailgate.
Okay.
And so, but I'm not going to use that.
Yeah, for the listeners, well, first of all, I always that's why I was telling Nikki, like, y'all got your truck first. Here I am. I needed it the longest. But that's how it's always seemed, even in getting a building for a church. You know, it's like you see all these other people first, and it's like, hey, God, you know. But I don't play the victim. God, it's in His timing. But for those who are listening, we're not. You can go online and be like, oh, what's a Tundra cost? $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. They're super expensive. So mine is a 2010 Tundra. I lost a 2018 Silverado and went and bought a 2010, and Shane's is a 2013.
Yeah.
So we're not rolling
same
in money
mileage
here.
Same mileage, basically.
Same mileage, yeah.
Yeah. And then we just did the research and felt like it was the best bet, longevity for the money that you're being spent, because we both paid cash. You know, we don't have a payment or anything. And then it should hopefully it lasts. But I'm not going to buy something like that's going to be $35,000 and up. My wife's car was like almost 30. They gave us knocked stuff off of it, gave us what we wanted on her other car, and we wind up, when it was said and done, what we had to finance was like 17 or 16. That's the most I've ever had to do in my life. And we paid it off quick. And we've had it since it came off we peeled the plastic off of it in 2013. So she has a 2013 Sienna. I have a 2013 Tundra.
Oh, nice.
So we both got the same year and everything. So, but I just couldn't do that. And I have a lot of my friends who went and got brand new Z71s. Now they're like one of them is 6 months old, one of them is like a year old, 2023, one's a 2024. I mean, you're talking about $50,000 car and all the bells and whistles, the rims and all that. And you're like, man, they're like, you ought to go get you one, you know? And I'm like, A, I can't afford it, number one. Number two, I couldn't put enough down to get it where I could afford it.
Yeah.
And so, but I do like that started thinking through. My wife and I were talking about it. I put a post on social media just talking about modest is still the best, and in dress and attitude and in property. Modest is still best, and I know biblically speaking, that's it. We want to live a modest life, and I think modesty is approachable, and so I was really like, it really affirmed, I guess you could say, that like 1%, 2%, 3% that's in your back of your mind going, I guess they were right. Maybe I should, or if there's something I can move things around. But in your head, you're like, you're glad you live in the house that you live in.
Right.
Our house, your house, and my house, both are not plush houses, but we love it. It's a house. That's all we need.
Nicest house I've ever lived in.
Right, nicest house I ever lived in.
It's not the nicest house in the area, but it's
that's
the nicest I've lived in.
Like 100%. And then, you look at stuff and just very grateful to have what you have. And I think it says a lot, but I really have been leaning into that as I've had all this conversation from people thinking, not knowing, I mean, they don't even know why I got something just a few years newer than my truck.
Right.
Like they have no idea. It confuses them. Huh? Why did you do that? And then I was like, I just felt like it was the best move. And then it makes me start to doubt as a man, because these are all other men, people, my friends, I would call them friends. And you're like, maybe did I make a bad decision? And now it's like, no, I made the best decision. I prayed through it. I made the best decision. So anyways, I'm excited. Tons of trends.
And your mindset has to, I think a lot of people are like, same thing. You're looking for an older cash car, because other friends would send me stuff and it'd be like $30,000 or whatever. And that's fine. I mean, my truck, the reason I bought my truck when I did, I saved and I shopped for, 2 years on my Silverado. The interest rate for one was much less. The interest rates were already going up in 2021, and I got a 3.19%, which I thought was high at the time based on my credit and what they were like a few months prior. So they were already going up. Well, then now, if you go buy a 3-year-old vehicle, mine was 3 years old then.
Yep.
At 3.19%. Now it's 6.14%, and that just came down. It was like 6.4%. And if you buy something in our range, 2016 or older,
yeah,
the interest rate is 8.84%, and that's with USAA, which is like one of the lowest rates you can get. And of course, that's for 36 months, and then it climbs. So you can do the math real quick.
Oh yeah.
And a $20,000 vehicle even will cost you way more than what you need to be paying for it. And others have the means to do that. I had a truck payment. I just sat there and thought about it and was like, if I don't have to have a payment, why have a payment? Let me go find a good quality truck. Originally I had even said I wanted a $5,000 to $7,000 vehicle that would last me for a couple of years, put the rest in savings, and just wait, find the truck I love. And so that's why it took me so long, because that's why I said I want to have a little mini conversation within our conversation, because we have a few other things to catch up on, but we've got a main topic we want to talk about. And that's just being when we talk about being a good steward, like you're saying, being a good steward of the finances, like paying so much for something if you don't have to, and looking at your family and going, this is going to set my family up better, not having a payment. We get to now save that truck payment, use it, because inflation, our income hasn't gone up much. This past year, I got a little bit of a cost of living increase. The year before, we didn't. We actually had to take some cuts in the church and stuff. And so, our income has not increased over the last 2 years by a lot at all.
Right.
But inflation has been horrible. So it helps us a little bit, allows us to save some. And so, but being a good steward also, guys, is, taking care of what you have. So the day we bought my truck, which was just 2 days ago, we went up to Atlanta to look at a 2014, had a little higher mileage, Crew Max. I mean, it was supposed to be really nice. And we get to the dealership and we're like, okay, this is just, small group of people. It was like these office buildings, like multiple office buildings. It'd be hard to explain, but it's like kind of like you go to one of those office parks and it's got all the signs for the different things. Well, it had like 100 different car dealership names on it. And I said, this seems shady. And so we just pulled up, and before anybody could come out to greet us, we went and saw the truck and looked at it. And it just was, for a 2014, it was not taken care of at all. And that's why it took me so long, is because you travel, you see something online that looks good, and you get out and the salesman's like, oh, I just saw that it had a crack in the windshield. That's what happened in Macon.
Yeah.
And the crack in the windshield is from the top to the bottom. It's not like, a rock, a pebble. It's like the whole windshield's cracked, like a $530 expense right off the top. And then you take it, you test drive it, you go hook it up to a code reader at the parts store, and it's showing a code even though the check engine light's not on. And so, it really, this adventure has really taught me. I mean, I've always felt this way. If God blesses you with a house, take care of it, clean it up, maintain it. But when you go look at used cars, that's not everybody's mentality.
That's right.
It's like, yes, this is something God's given us to use, but it's been more abused. And so what I was saying was, I think good stewardship comes out of, like you said, being grateful. When you have gratitude for what you've been given, you understand it's been given to you by God, like you're going to take care of that. I mean, this is a gift from God. If my wife gives me a gift, I'm not going to just, abuse it. And then, I think it shows leadership. Leadership is like, hey, I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to do the right thing, and preserve it the longest that I can. And, I think it's that it's something that we all need to be aware of, that whatever God gives us, whether it be little or big, you might have the money to go buy a $50,000 Tundra. And I'm not faulting you for that. If that's a choice for you and you feel like it's a good stewardship move for your family, by all means do so. Enjoy it. God's blessed you in such a way. I cheer you on. But at the same time, take care of it. Leave it for your kids, or if you're going to sell it or trade it in, have something of quality to offer someone else. Don't leave it to a sleazy salesman to try to sell you on why it's a good deal when you look at it and you go, it looks like trash. And I think for you, like you got a good deal on a 2013 because I believe it looks like someone was a good steward of that vehicle. Mine is a 2010. It's a limited, so it's got a lot more features than I needed. Leather interior, sunroof.
Oh yeah, you fancy now, bro.
I don't need all that. But it's a 2010, so I could get it at a good price range. But one of the things that I cared about more than a few dents that are on it and some scratches in the paint is it was a retired master sergeant that owned it. And you can look on the Carfax report, and every 3,000 miles, he was changing the oil. He was taking care of it, making sure it was serviced. So to me, it's like, hey, somebody might look at it and go, you bought that? I see a dent there or whatever. It's like, yeah, but the thing that makes it run is taken care of.
That was a whole thing with mine. Was like the inside was perfect. It's you can tell in the handles. Sits in the sun.
Yeah.
So, but since it sits in the sun, there's like some peeling of the paint and stuff like that. But which is like notorious for Toyotas, and so their paint is not the best. But everything else was like spotless. Carfax was all clean. And it's just like it was taken care of, man. No smoke, no nothing. It was just perfect. I mean, it's better in the inside than my wife's van, which I take care of. And, I was like, man, this is almost perfect on the inside. If it was just update some color stuff and it'd been awesome. And that's how I got a better deal was because of the paint on the outside. But we can
that's
fix
notorious
that
for
Toyotas. It's just like really terrible for that. And so, but the thing, two things on that. One, proud of you for thinking through the car deal because I was nervous you were going to get like something off of Facebook or for $5,000 and that took a breakdown in like 6 months and you're like $5,000 and then it's going to cost you a new motor $5,000 or $4,000 so this $5,000 cars will now cost you almost 10,
right?
Because there's limited things that you can get, and then I think I like that you found it took a while, but you got a good truck, but definitely low miles, tremendously low miles compared to the year.
Yeah.
Well taken care of everything. So if it scans out how we see online and how other people testimonies, then you should be good for a while. You could keep it, and I mean honestly, you can keep it for 3 years and drive for 3 years, and based off of like numbers that you and I've looked at, how they're reselling,
right.
Like gosh, you can turn around and sell it for what you just got into it in 3 years.
Right.
Literally don't miss a dime. And so you just rode around for free for 3 years.
And that's how we look with what we got back from insurance. Nikki figured it up and she said, basically it costs you nothing to drive your truck for 3 years because we essentially got it all back.
Yeah.
So it was like a free truck. And so now I'm getting a free truck because that insurance money is paying for that and I have no payment.
Yep.
So, it's like I got 2 free trucks.
Yep.
So, Lord, you just trust the Lord with it. And I told Nikki the other day, I said, you got a really good deal on yours because when we're looking at other places
oh gosh,
for the same year, some of them, from what I could tell, one guy, he was one of the typical used car salesmen, suckered us into going to Charleston and looking at a vehicle there. He told me probably 5-6 times how super clean it was and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, if you say super clean one more time, like, it was just like overplayed. And you get there and it's not super clean.
That's right.
And it's just like check engine lights on. And they're asking $3,500 more. Now, it was the crew cab, but other than that, I think it's equipped identical to yours. $3,500 more than what you bought yours for. It was just like, I'm not doing that.
That's crazy. Well, one thing you mentioned stewardship. I was thinking, I think stewardship is a huge thing. I think as men, we need to steward, obviously, our life. We talk about like our bodies as a stewardship. We don't know how long we have it. We need to make the best on that. Our families, leadership, all that. When it comes to finances and thinking through that, we believe that God blesses you so you bless other people. And so you can be a blessing to people. And there's not a knock on having toys and boats and, you're spending $30,000 on a new boat so you can go out on the lake and enjoy your family and family time and all that. But I would really even challenge you just to think through situations and all that but there's no knock. There's no hate in that when I say it, because I have friends of mine that do have boats and they use it to bless people on the lake and all that. But I would say, man, if you're not giving like finances away and trying to help people, I would really just encourage the listener to think through their finances and find ways to bless people, and not just chalk it up and say, well, I just take people out on the lake and all that. People that I'm talking to have boats, they also are givers. They give a lot of finances away to help people. Recently, I think I told you I was going to get a boat. And I might have said it on the podcast a while ago. We found this cheap boat. It's a super old one from the 80s, and it was going to do us just fine. A friend of mine who's an older gentleman who works on all kinds of stuff. He's like, he's been looking for me a boat. I didn't tell him anything, but he's like, I think you need a boat because you like to fish, and you can pull a tube on it and all this other stuff. But the motor itself you could sell for like $1,500. So he got it, had it for 2 weeks, looking at it, and he was like, he came back to me and says, well, yeah, you can sell the motor right now and make your money back. So like it's no loss. He took the motor apart, looked at it, took everything around, cranked up on the first go round, everything. And he said, but you can use it in the summer, and then you probably need to put it up because it needs painting, and it does, man. It needs a lot of work. Probably need about $4,000 to put in it to make it look awesome. And so, in that, it was not worth. I don't have $4,000 to put into a boat with my family. I don't have any of that. Even if it would be really fun to go and to do all these things, it's not. Especially, I told my wife, I said, especially looking for a truck.
Yeah.
And so if I did that, it would really exhaust like any extra money we have. And you could he said, you don't have to do all of it one time. You could fix the flooring, and that's about $1,500, and then you can wind up painting with marine paint. You could fix up as you go through the years. And I was like, man, all our extra money that we bless people with, and then we give, etc., and that's all that money. Right. All that's gone. It just doesn't work as much as it is. And so they really had me thinking. You mentioned about the stewardship, and I was just like, man, we really need to as men just really think through about how we are a blessing to other people with our finances, because you now have margin, and I know what I know of you is you're a giver, and your kids are all like that too. And so, but it doesn't mean that we are called to be like poor or anything, but still we need to really be a good steward.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to have nice stuff if the Lord's blessed you in such a way that you can do so, but also not to where it handcuffs you from being able to be generous to other people, because you can't separate that, especially from the gospel.
That's right.
The other is kind of the doesn't really speak to a lot of the, it talks about us not having the lust of the eyes and those type lust of the flesh. And, so there are certain things we shouldn't lust after those things. It's okay if God's blessed you. In fact, there's a man in our church who got his blessed. He's got like essentially a ranch or a farm not too far from here. He's got 4-wheelers. He's got it set up for shooting, and we've taken our men out there and our sons. And so he's taken what God's blessed him with, fun stuff, and he uses it as a tool for reaching other men and
that's right.
The church and those things. But he's also very generous.
That's right.
He hasn't so handcuffed himself on this one thing that he isn't generous in other ways. And he's generous more than just through the church, like through missions and things like that. So it's a balance. And I think also with being a good steward is having a sense of humility, because we can often go, I work hard. I put in 60 hours a week or whatever that looks like for the individuals who listen. And we can get into that mindset, especially as guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because guys are doing the heavy labor type jobs.
Yep.
So our mindset can shift into, I deserve this because of the hard work that I do, not understanding that, there needs to be a humility there, because God still gives us the ability to be able to do that physical labor, to do that hard work. And so God blesses us with the ability to make good money, but he also says those who are faithful in the little, he will bless with more.
Oh, yeah.
So if we're faithful in that, in being generous and being sacrificial, and helping other people, then he's going to bless. And it may not be more money. It may be more whatever opportunities. It may whatever that looks like. But that's a promise I believe that God fulfills. If we're faithful in the little, he will bless us with more.
Yeah.
And that's where I was having some raw conversations with guys like, God, it's never been harder to do what I feel is right for my family. I want to make sure we got some margin. I want to make sure we're not strapped and there's some breathing room and yet I'm wanting to do the right thing and it's so hard.
Well, even you saying that and being, very raw with it, there's a lot of listeners that are actually like, I believe that listen to us that identify to what you're saying because there is a struggle, man. Like, because those who are listening are they're part of the cartel. Like they want to be better. They're like us, like-minded. And so I think a lot of them, but a lot of men, you are struggling with that, but you're not talking to anybody about it, And so I think that's awesome for you to just be raw.
It would be so, and I think that's why we're not just talking about trucks, guys. Like that's part of us just catching up, but there's so many lessons that we've learned in this that we're talking about. In that, it would have been so easy to compromise and go, well, I'll just deal with this because that's why the scripture says, don't grow weary in doing good.
Yep.
For in in due time, you will reap a reward. And so it's a real life lesson in a truck that we often can grow tired and frustrated and going, I am doing the right thing. I'm trying my hardest to do the right thing. And everything's not lining up.
That's
It's hard. It is. And that's why it's not just words when we hashtag it or when we say like do hard things.
That's right.
We're not telling you get 50% better every day. We say get 1% better every day, because we are to grow in that difficulty.
My daughter, she's running because she's going to play flag football, hopefully at the high school. She's in 8th grade, but she can play for the high school for the JV team. And so she does, Daisy's done with ballet. She's not company ballet anymore. So it's funny you say it because recently she and I had a big talk about, if she really wants to make the team and do well, not just make it, but actually play, that she needs to start running because she did ballet. And so she's great with that type of thing, but she doesn't know how to run. She doesn't have like a good gait when she runs. She's grown so tall so quick. She's 5'10", so now as a just turned 13-year-old type of thing this year. So, but she's running, and then she run, walk with her mama, and then time was like, I was just grateful that they did it. And then she bailed on one day, and we had a talk about it. Like she came to me about it, and I was like, and she took 2 days off, and I was like, yeah, well, this is the deal. And I kind of coached her up a little bit, and we had to talk afterwards because she thought I was like putting her down a little bit, and I was like, I'm just telling you the reality. You will not get any better. These girls. These people, they are in OTAs. They practice. They're playing sports year round. You just hadn't done anything. You're behind the 8 ball. But with your potential, you can do great things, but you're going to have to want it. Anyway, she took it to heart within a week. So her mile went from 14 minutes to 12, and it's under 12 now.
Nice.
And so running, but she had to tell me, she says, it's not a lot. She says, but it's 1% better. Nice. And I said, let's go.
Yeah.
Because she sneaks on our podcast. She ain't supposed to. So if you're listening out, you need to get off the podcast. And
hey, Daisy.
So she's like, and her mom was like, well, I don't listen. My wife doesn't listen. But she's like, Daisy knows. So, and I said, well, I probably will say something about her just so that.
13 to 17% of our audience
that's
are
right.
women. So
that's right. So.
And obviously it's not all of our wives. So
that's
there
right.
you go.
That's right.
So,
100%. So what else you got? What do you want?
Well,
can I say something about Caitlin Clark? Because I said I really want to
bring that up because the only other thing I was going to talk about, and it goes back to being a good steward, was I guess ladies, because it was a lady. I was telling you how we were coming back from camp and almost got hit with a whole rack of bicycles off of the
That's
car.
Right.
Lady didn't put the pin in the hitch or didn't put the cotter pin in well. So we're driving down the interstate going 70 miles an hour, and all of a sudden I see the bike rack dislodge. And so then it's like fishtailing all over the road. It's thankfully it kept its balance, like it didn't overturn or anything. Well, the lady just keeps going. I didn't know it was a lady at the time. She just keeps going. And so I don't know what I was thinking because I took my seatbelt off. I don't know if I was thinking I was going to pull over and so I was like, why am I taking my seatbelt off? Well, that's me. I'm ready to go,
Yeah.
So I put my seatbelt on. I was like, I need to go catch that lady. So I had to go 100 plus miles an hour on at the Grovetown exit on Interstate 20, and finally caught her almost at the way station, and was telling her daughter through the passenger window, pointing at the bikes. And so thankfully they pulled over at the way station, and we turned around, and by then traffic was backed up. It looked like a police officer had gotten them off the road, and I was like, I wonder what they're gonna do. Like, it's too late. Maybe the police officer can help them put it on, but they got to go get a pen and stuff like that. And anyway, it was making me think about how it was women who hit me in my truck, and now, no offense, ladies, but I was like, being a good steward, put a pin in your.
Well, women deer too, bro.
Women deer. It was all does. So
they come for you, bro. That that's a good analogy. It's just small things that matter.
Small things.
Ooh,
pay attention.
That's a good one. That's a good word.
Maybe we need another. We talked about men do the little things, but maybe we need a secondary part to that.
Yeah, we probably need to.
So what were you going to bring up about Caitlin?
Not so. I started following WNBA. I'm just going to let everybody know. I started following WNBA.
You can't help it because that's all ESPN posts.
Because I watched Caitlin Clark last year and then this year with college, and I just love that she just is like literally like a Steph Curry, clone as a female, but she can actually play defense. And she NCAA, there's just been so much hate towards her. And then Angel Reese was another person, and who's a phenomenal basketball player. Like, she really is. She's great. And so she's got a little chip on her shoulder. And so, but then there's Caitlin Clark, who is setting records and getting really smashed. I mean, 80 feet out, 70 to 80 feet. They're face guarding her the whole way on defense. I mean, they're sandwiching her. They're doing everything to bully her because she's a rookie. But she just keeps taking it on the chin. And I was like, man, she'd make really good Male Cartel. Like, listen to her. And so
she's definitely changing the sport. Yeah.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. So I just wanted to mention that I watched WNBA. And so,
well, I don't.
You need to.
But I can't help but see the highlights because that is from the women's NCAA championship playoffs or tournament to now the WNBA. Like, if you going through Instagram or whatever, if you follow ESPN, they are inundating you with those clips. So you can't help but to see what's going on.
I'm probably gonna get me a jersey, bro. Caitlin Clark WNBA jersey, and I'm aware that.
Yeah. I've noticed over the last several weeks, it's gone from hating on her to a lot. It's like, look at this clip of so-and-so, joking with Caitlin Clark. Or
that's right. They're trying to change it because of I think they're trying to change a little bit of the narrative because of the money, the revenue that's coming in, which is absolutely a lot.
She's filling up much bigger stadiums wherever she plays.
Bro, it is absolutely wild. Boys and girls, what she's doing is, she can handle the ball. She looks like a boy when she plays.
Yeah,
there are a few girls that are like that when they play and haven't been. I don't know how many times I've watched girls basketball in high school, and it's like apps that make you want to throw up. They can't even make a layup, and you're just like, this is like watching paint dry. And then you get a team. I remember watching Grovetown High girls team. The shortest girl, the point guard, the shortest one was like 5'10". They even had like a 6'6" girl in it, and they run like gazelles. They're like men out there. Like, they literally, phenomenal. Like, handling the ball, look like you can if you didn't know they were girls, like, they can just play, just the ability. And so you recognize top notch people when they play.
Well, I think we've seen how the game has changed from Jordan.
That's right.
He everybody wanted to be like Mike, so they started practicing different, playing different, and now you got a lot of guys who can mimic much of what he introduced.
That's right.
And so, in the same way, you would expect the WNBA over years to progress and change, and people are going to get better because as new people come in, they're going to start mimicking other people,
That's right.
practicing harder, working harder. And then the skill's going to grow.
That's right.
And so, and then other people are being exposed because of people like Caitlin Clark. You go, oh, I didn't know about that player. She's actually pretty good.
That's right.
So, I think people think back to their middle school and high school girl basketball teams, and that's why WNBA hasn't gotten a lot of exposure because they go, oh, if it's like anything I saw in school, I ain't interested.
Yeah, because it was trash.
Well, we also talked about the different male types, and we'll close up with this.
So
because of time, but
so you know about it. I wonder if the listeners know about the different male types. I bet they know.
There's more than what I realized.
I bet they know alpha male, and then I bet they know beta. And so
I love that guy.
Outside of those two, there's more. So go for it.
Okay, so I'll just name them off. I have heard of gamma male. Hadn't really known much about that. Delta male is a new one. I may have heard it. Zeta male, sigma male. I've heard of a sigma. And then omega male. So there's essentially 7, they say, different types of men.
Yep.
And I think because alpha male is highlighted, they're the ultimate man.
Yeah, because of like movies. We grew up with like
Everyone,
John Wayne's alpha male.
Braveheart.
That's right.
You go down the line. I think everyone wants to be the alpha male or consider that. Alpha male is now has been attacked in today's culture as being toxic.
That's right.
They try to relate that to toxic masculinity. There is no toxic masculinity. There's masculinity, and then there's toxic. There's femininity, and then there's toxicity. There's no toxic femininity. It's just you're a toxic person.
You say that really good too, by the way. I would just butch that. Butch.
Be careful.
I would
be careful.
I would botch that.
I think you were going to say butcher it.
I would say butcher it,
but you were. We try to keep this family friendly.
It is family friendly. They all got the filthy minds. Dirty mouth.
And so, I think it's like alpha or beta because if you're not an alpha, the beta more aligns with what women typically are known for.
Like nurses. And,
being a nurse, more nurturing. So we're not knocking that. We're just saying it's a different type. I think where the problem comes in is when these other types of males try to be something they're not.
That's the thing, right there. That's what we got to talk about. Just right there.
Which thoughts?
I think you just got to embrace who you are. You don't if you're not the alpha male, however God's designed you to be, just be that. There's nothing worse than operating in a different mindset and personality. You're really gonna ruffle feathers. You're gonna feel like you're not going to have a passion for it. You're going to feel like incomplete. It's like, it's incomplete. It's like anything that you do on your computer, it's loading. You feel like you're always loading. You never have been completed. And there's like a void. So like, just do what God's called you to do because you're made for I have 2 boys. Like you have 2 boys. And my 2 boys are completely different. They just are. And so, yeah, I just be yourself. There's nothing worse, and I see it. I know you do as well. I see it. I see it with young men playing sports who try to be the big dog, and it just does not come across too well. Yeah. It's like just embrace your role, and people generally love you for that, And so,
I think when you try to be somebody you're not, when it comes across as inauthentic,
that's right.
I think you're saying I think the other is it's not natural, and so you don't have the necessarily the passion that you can be motivated.
Yeah.
An alpha male can motivate, say, a delta male to be passionate about something, maybe a cause of justice or something like that. So then they can be motivated in that way. But say if that's not the natural gifting of a delta male to inspire around an issue of maybe injustice or something like that. That's just what popped in my mind. It could be a number of things.
Well, just imagine if it was an alpha male and all of a sudden he's forced to be the caretaker.
Right.
You just feeling like, bruh, what am I doing?
Or you're asking him to do something that falls within the natural kind of inclination of one of these other people. And that's what I think we can all, for instance, I'll give you an example. I think we can all have these characteristics, whether or not they're overarching, like they
That's right.
are
Or
the
primary
thing that we're known for, or that really that we sit around just thinking about, not necessarily true. For instance, the gamma male is known as being equally creative and adventurous. They're often portrayed as a fun-loving men of culture. They love to travel and believe their purpose in life is to have fun. I love to travel. I like to travel, but that's not, necessarily what I'm known for. But anyway, it says their purpose in life is to have fun, rich, fulfilling experiences, ideally in exotic locations, loud and bombastic. They're constantly on the move and can create powerful friendships wherever they go. And so it says they're adventurous, fun-loving, goofy. I could look at some of that and go, I can have some of those characteristics. Those aren't necessarily foundational characteristics of being a man.
Yep.
So I think that's where we as guys, like, we need to be careful to be like, oh, you're not an alpha male, you're a gamma male.
That's right.
And so because that's who God created them to be. I don't know if you follow the Enneagram or have looked into any of that. It's a personality. It's not a personality test, but it's kind of like a how we operate in some ways. You can see how some of these even line up with some of that.
Yeah.
And so it's just like we can all share traits. Like, I love to travel. Not what I'm necessarily known for. But what can be kind of disastrous is when we start saying to be a man, you've got to fit the characteristics of this alpha male or this gamma male, or because if you don't do it my way, then you're not a real man. And so I think we got to identify what are the true characteristics of a man, because that should be transferable to all types of men.
That's right. That's
alpha,
right.
beta, whatever.
Do you ever look at people and see if they're like, I think when I think of I think one of it mentioned like alpha male, I think of like Maverick from Top Gun. Immediately it would be that William Wallace, alpha male. The beta male is more like Samwise off of Lord of the Rings, taking care of, whatever, Frodo. Frodo, if you're sticking to that, is probably more, is he more like the Zeta male? Or I'm trying to think, it's not the...
Well, you know how that guy says beta?
Beta,
Now we can go Zeta.
Zeta.
Zeta is more like to me, is like an artist, musician.
Yeah,
right? That's what they're saying.
Yeah,
Actor,
it's like Frodo. Frodo always seems like he's like, more
philosopher,
a deep thinker. Just sit there and like that's how he was. And then I think the Sigma is more like John Wick, Rambo, loners by themselves, isolated. All the characteristics of an alpha male, except for they don't need an entourage. They just kind of like can do their own thing. I thought I'm probably more that than I am than alpha, but I think I'm alpha if I'm working in my job, like a team atmosphere. Like I just more, but I also am very from being a kid who was the youngest of the grandchildren. And they all had dookie daddies. And so I helped my grandma take care of all my because I was like, had to be responsible of the pack. Mm-hmm. And she was like, this is it. And so nurturing and all that, like I think I learned how to like take care of and be hospitable and all that. And then when that's taken care of, it's like that door's shut and I'm back to operating how.
Well, and I think nurturing can look different.
Yeah.
So I think of when you look at like the different native tribes or the different, is portrayed in movies where the young man becomes of age. Now they take him out and they put him to the test.
Yeah. He's
got to hunt. He's got to maybe be out on his own. To me, that can be nurturing.
Yeah.
Because you're nurturing that. I could, you think of 300. I forget the character where his son is out and his son, shows up and he's not supposed to be there and he's surprised and he ends up getting killed.
Uh-huh.
And the dad's like,
oh yeah,
this is a warrior. This is a Spartan. And his son dies, and you see that emotion. I believe Here you got probably an alpha
too.
male. Yeah, patriot. You've got an alpha male. And see, once again, you go, okay, was he, Mel Gibson's character in that, was he an alpha male? Because he was very reluctant. There are men who, when the time comes and they step up, they show a different side of themselves, but there's always that reluctant hero. There's always that reluctance, which I think we should all we should be reluctant to engage in violence.
Oh, yeah.
But if violence comes to the door, we have to answer. But you see a father in The Patriot, you see a father in 300, you see them, that vulnerable side of them, even though they're probably alpha males, and yet their son is dying. You see that nurturing side as well. So I think their characteristics can be transferable in certain ways, but they're not known for nurturing. It's going to be more like let the baby cry. They'll learn we're not coming for them.
Well, it's kind of like, remember, you take the Working Genius. I know you've done that before, which I think is really good. When I do Working Genius, when I do the even the DISC training, the DISC personality, like I'm different at home and I'm different in the workplace with all that. Like I am almost two separate people, and then I am completely different. I'm more like my home when I am in charge of, I have a responsibility that my name's attached to it.
Yeah.
And the rest, I'm not as, I'm viewed as being differently, like how I am. And then it had me thinking, because you and I were talking about this like earlier, because we knew that we were going to do this on the podcast today. It just had me thinking like, be able to turn that switch on, able to be like, know who you are as a leader, and so, just thinking through that, going, I wonder, some people, maybe you're one way all the time, and which could be like, you can't be demanding or a certain way.
Yeah.
And so this is why, because I'm this is what I have to do, know, then your kids won't love you. You know what I mean? You're probably got issues with your wife, because you're trying to be something you're not, or maybe you are so bent one way, you're not wanting to learn or to adapt to your environment.
And I'd love to hear from, maybe somebody studied this out.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from one of our listeners if they've kind of done some study.
That'd be awesome.
Like the Enneagram, because especially on WikiHow, and we can link this into the show notes, it talks about kind of what you need to do to almost take care of yourself and things like that. If you've ever looked at Enneagram, it talks about having the different wings and how you will, your personality can also kind of blend with the personality of another. And it's not personality, I'm saying the wrong word, but like I through the testing and stuff would be considered a 8 wing 7. And so this, share similarities with the types of a 7. But my main personality type or Enneagram type would be an 8. And so I wonder if that's the case, like in something like an Enneagram. There's a thing called My Windows. It's a communication thing for workplace that I did at a different place that I worked at one time. It was amazing because what it did was, this is all on communication. This is how you want to be communicated with. And so it's normal times, whatever your rating is. Under times of stress, that changes. And so people reveal, like if I'm stressed out, like if I'm on a tight time crunch, I want, you to communicate with me in this kind of way. If not, it's going to create frustration. For instance, I'll give you a quick example. For some, it may be, I want the A to Z. They're the analytic. I want to know the whole detail of everything from start to finish. I want to know A to Z, all the details. But under stress, I may just want the bottom line. And so what they did was they gave us these charts that we could put on our cubicles or in our office. So as people came, if they saw that we were busy or it was a busy season, like, Christmas or something where things ramped up, then they could look and go, I bet this is a stressful time. Or you could ask a qualifying question like, hey, is now a good time? And if not, it could be like, well, here's the bottom line of what's happening or what I need or whatever. And you can communicate their language under their times of stress. So we do adapt as people, so it wouldn't shock me that at home you may, operate one way, but at work maybe operate in a different fashion because the demands are different and the responsibilities different.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
Just a thought,
dude. That's awesome. Like I'm you know me. I'm simple. I'm like in that. I'm a bottom line no matter what.
Yeah.
Just give me the bottom line. I don't need a story. But man, my wife, she needs everything. She wants to know every nuts and bolts and everything and how this road looked like and smelt like, and she's the one to know everything.
That is ladies.
That is ladies, dude. It's so funny.
Have you seen the reel with one of the comedians? Is it Jeff Foxworthy, where he's telling her like, pray for so and so? They were in a car accident and went to the hospital, and the wife's like, well, where were they? And he's like, I don't know. The text just said, pray for so and so. They were in a car accident. Well, what happened? I don't know. It just says to pray for so and so.
I gotta find that clip.
What were they driving? I don't know. It just says it's hilarious. It's so funny because he keeps getting asked all these questions, and it's just like, well, what do you know? To pray for.
Dude, that is so good. That's funny,
It's
bro.
hilarious. It's so funny.
Man, that's so good. That is so true. Yeah.
You got anything else? Any other thoughts on that?
Nah, I think we kind of covered it. I'd love to know from everybody else if there's any other, if you like Nick said, I mean, if you've done your research. I just started getting into this, looking at it.
Yeah.
And started going, man, this is pretty cool. Just looking at, don't know how accurate it is, but I was actually trying to find, I found one that was on Marvel characters. I thought we'd have some fun with that, but maybe that'd be a different time.
Maybe we can open next episode with that and make it, kind of catch up from this episode.
Yeah.
Because if someone didn't listen to this episode and they hear that part, they'll have to come back and listen to this episode.
Dude,
welcome back.
Did you hear, this is completely changing the subject, but I just thought about it. Did you hear about the people that got shark attacks?
Yeah, there's been a lot.
Yeah. Did you see the picture?
No. Do you have a picture?
I don't have a picture, but I did see it on the Twitters, on the social medias, and the girl.
That's where woman, I go. Anytime I want to see a video or photo I can't find, that's where
it was like been blurred out, and then I think it's taken down now. But old girl got her whole entire calf bit off. Yeah, can you? And the whole time I was thinking, I was like, what would I do? It's like pretty much nothing at that point. Your whole calf got bit off. And they had made a tourniquet right above her knee, but her whole calf was absolutely gone.
Wow.
They had 4 bites, 4 attacks from the same shark within like a 2-hour time frame.
Yeah, I haven't been
weird. So be safe out and be safe out in the streets and the waters as well.
Yeah, that's the shark's kitchen. So yeah, it's Shark's house and their kitchen. So I mean,
yeah, dude.
Producer Carell, you couldn't hear him because he's not on the microphone. He needs to be. Hey, next episode will be our 1 year. So
we gotta do something fun.
Yeah. So Producer Carell will be on the microphone that episode.
Let's go.
It has to be.
All right, let's go.
I mean, it's just we made an executive decision.
Boom. He'll be on the mic.
He will be on the microphone for our 1 year episode. Because this was yesterday we announced the podcast.
Yep.
So
I saw that on my memories.
Yeah. And so that's a great thing to check out because I want to see where Stoic fits on it as well, the men types. But the only thing I've seen, because I've been scrolling, looking at vehicles, that's pretty much all I've been doing online. I did see with the 4th of July, I always see like fails. And I saw where one guy like killed himself because he held one of those things over his head. He was like drunk and it blew up on his head. So I didn't see the video. I saw right before the video. And then I saw where in Arizona, I believe, they were shooting fireworks, and then they started acting like heat-seeking missiles going back into the stadium and hitting people. And so, like, you see them go up, and then they turn and start firing into the stadium at people. Dang. Well, I mean, it's because people are in there.
That's right. Well, I saw one. There's like within 5 seconds, it's going like normal fireworks, and all of a sudden, all the fireworks went off.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah,
and it was done, man. That's
it. Tilted over and shot into the other fireworks, and
settled. Like, man, that's like $30,000 probably.
Yeah,
at least. So,
well, guys, thanks for tuning in. And if you got any thoughts on this, we'll put up, answering question answer on Spotify. But if not, join us on our social media.
Yep.
Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, under Male Cartel. For all of those platforms, we would love to hear from you. Not only maybe have you really looked at those personality types or man types, and where do you feel like you fit in that? But also, if you've done some research on it and you've kind of studied it out, we'd love to hear your thoughts on sharing some of those kind of characteristics within that. But ultimately, our encouragement to you as men is to be who God created you to be your authentic self. We don't need another Shane Padgett. We don't need another Nick Carnes. We don't need you to be an alpha male if you're a beta male. You know, we need to be careful as men to not use those terms necessarily in a mocking way to make people feel like they're less than what, you know, God created them to be. But other than that, you know, be who God created you to be.
Yep, and get 1% better every day.
Absolutely.
All right, see you next time.
See ya.
Thank you for joining the Male Cartel podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share to help other men join the cartel. You can also keep up with us on social media and at malecartel.com.